This is a jingle. So welcome to Momentum number 8, and we're going to have now the workshop of cables.gl by Pandur. So this will happen now, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me for this warm welcome. And my name is Panama. I will tell a bit about myself in a second. So this is what I want to do today, and it's really packed, I guess. I don't know. It will be. I try to be fast. And if you want to know something more, or if you any comments, just ask stuff. Just shout and just ask me. It's no problem while the presentation. It's good if it's interactive. I like that. So just ask any questions about anything. So my name is Pandor. Andev is the company I work for. The company that develops cables, basically. I will tell a bit about. Then I will show some client projects and some stuff that cables was used for. And then we will look at cables itself. Why is it there? Then how to patch and show some patching. I don't know how deep we will go into this, but probably it's good always if you want to ask questions and then show something, how to do it. Then how to code ops, like program operators in cables directly. Then look at maybe look at real projects like a client project or demos, like how they are a bit structured. How do they look like? They look like chaotic as all the other patches, but yeah, stuff like this. And then some other cool stuff that we think of that we have in cables, like camera tracking and stuff like this, and maybe a few things that we plan this year for cables. So, yeah, if there are any questions, just ask them.
It's no problem at all. So yeah, my name is Tom. And my nickname is Pandora. I was in those groups like Black Maiden. I worked with Bypass and Color. They are like old German groups that are not active anymore. Nowadays, I release stuff in Holon and MFX. I came to the demo scene by doing ANSI art, like text mode drawing stuff. I had a BBS back in the 90s. Where you can just call with your telephone and your modem and then you get connected to my computer and blah, blah, all this stuff before the internet. And you needed this text modes graphics, so that was a hobby for me. And there I learned to program, or like I started to program to write modifications for those BBS systems. And so I did my first demo in 2001, so over 20 years now. Now I have like released 50 demos on PUE at least. And and I really like writing graphic engines or 3D engines and stuff like this. I wrote them in like 5 different languages. I did C, C++, then I had some written with the script engine, Java demos I did, because I really love the aspect of multi-platform stuff. So also demos, like I think it's sad that they're all on or they were all on Windows and stuff. But I really like that if they are multi-platform, and this is also WebGL. A great thing about WebGL or in web in general. And yeah, so I created a lot of engines, and then at some point, I will tell about this, I started cables, so this is now a big thing, and we are doing it since 8 years, so for us it's a really big thing. That's about it, I guess. So Andev, that's our company, Undefined Development. We are only 2 people, it's really small, we are just developers, and we didn't know what to do, so we thought like, let's call it Undefined, it's a nice JavaScript joke or something, and then the German bureaucracy said, no, you cannot just call it Undefined, that's not the name, and then we said, okay. Then we said, okay, then it's undefined development. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. So and so we are called. Yeah. So they said, okay, it's. So they said it's fine. So it's always the joke. So we have this collection of things that when on the web they go wrong, you see this undefined somewhere, right? So and and this stuff is great because sometimes we get even packages they are called like addressed to undefined because something fucked up in their formula or something like this, or we get like 1,000 people found us on Google because they searched for undefined. So some other formula went wrong, and yeah, they asked for directions. I don't know why would they do this, but yeah. So this was some electronic market. They had this. Their formula was just fucked. And yeah, you have all those funny things happening when you code after JavaScript programming thing. So so yeah, we're just two people, and we started with just doing anything. Which I worked for an agency, and I didn't want that anymore. So we thought, okay, let's just try to do it ourselves or to do stuff ourselves. And it was very unknown, undefined in the beginning. So where this goes, but so in that agency, I did web development mainly, and did 3D or OpenGL programming as a hobby. And then in 2013 or something, like WebGL came into the browser, and that was really great for me because I could just combine this profession thing with my hobby and could do both at the same time. And so also the demo scene was really a multiplicator for me. Like people said like, yeah, this guy, they can program 3D stuff, or he can program 3D stuff. And then we did some WebGL jobs with 3JS in the beginning, and then we started to developing cables because actually I want to tell this a bit later, but it's also the thing working with artists and for clients and stuff. You really need to prototype fast, you need to iterate fast, and not like, okay, make it bigger, and then you compile, then you write the code, and then you compile, and then you upload a new version, then you send it there, and that takes a long time for many people. So you can just say, yeah, do it yourself, or you just share your screen and sit together and adjust those things. But that was only one thing. Like the other thing was for sure making demos with it. So that was also one big part of the motivation to just do demos with it, and some other use cases. So I will just show some client projects we did with it. I guess the demos you can watch online. I don't want to show demos now. I mean, we can also look at demos. I will show one demo in detail. We can open the patch, and there will also be some screenshots. But I also want to show what else you can do with it, because it's really handy if you can combine those two worlds, like your job and demos. So at least for me, this is really something cool. So also, it's really great if you can do stuff like this for clients. So this is Großbecker. Nobody will know them. It's a manufacturer for needles, actually. Can you see this? It's so there's this particle field here. I don't know. It's a bit harsh on the projector. So so they wanted this experience. Yeah. Maybe, or maybe. Yeah, I think the contrast is a bit too high or something. But yeah, I guess you can see the main thing, right? So, so you can navigate in this world. This consists of needles, basically. It's really not easy to show. Can you change the contrast or something, maybe? Okay. Okay, whatever. Then I would just. Yeah, it's better. Yeah, great. Yeah, yeah, awesome. Nice. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, much better. So yeah, so this whole thing is done in cable. So everything that you see, the menu also. Yeah, this is HTML stuff. This is also HTML stuff. I guess that's what you were asking. And also the buttons. They use another technology that can, so they can animate those buttons in After Effects. But whatever. So this is the menu thing, and then you can click in, and each category has a different animation, and then it will load some other content, and then you can look at their awesome needles. Yeah, this also works on mobile. And so, yeah, that was this job. It was a lot of work. Yeah, it's huge. So it's this patch is that's like the biggest project we ever did. So it was also with people. Click the same thing again. So this was done by 3D artists. This stuff. Let me find another one. By 3D artists. So they developed, they created those models, and then they sent us those models. And if they want, like they sent us actually the 3D models, and we had to build them for this. Yeah. So you can just import 3D stuff. I will show this later. So, but this is one of the things that we do for our job, and then like we develop this stuff, and for example, I don't know, the particle system or something like this we develop for the client, and then we have those ops and those operators, and they are just reusable. Like we try to design them as reusable as possible, and then we do this for a client, and then we can put them in the public cable so everybody can use this kind of stuff. So I don't know, there's stuff like that was paid by this client or paid by Nike or whatever, and then it just goes into cables and everybody can use it, or we can reuse it in the next project, which is really, and this is how like all the development stacks up and gets faster and easier for us. So there's also those machines with a lot of more details in there in this client. So then there's this project for Mont Blanc. It's like a luxury company from Germany and Switzerland. It was also an animated fox, and then you can see the whole journey of the fox. It's just, most of the time, it's advertising stuff for agencies. So it's like we do this once and then it's done. Like it's still online, but it's not like continuous development like we do on cables, like develop it for 8 years. But those projects, they are mostly like done and ready, and then it's the next one. So yeah, that was for Zalando and Nike. Was actually an Instagram ad. So you saw an ad on Instagram, you clicked it, and then you went to that interactive website. I don't know why it's not showing everything. Yeah, you have, I don't know why, but whatever. So you had some progression, and then in the end, the shoe was building up, and you had some animation there. Also, that was done for mobile mainly. Then we do stuff like this, like data visualization. Let me open this. So that was.
Sorry, Tom, can I just ask you a question?
Sure, always.
Evil is asking on the stream, what kind of, what 3D formats can you import on cables?
Mainly GLTF files. That's our main format nowadays because it's just really easy to export from most formats. We had some converters, but there are also converters online. You can upload an FBX and then you get a GLTF file. So. Yeah, that's also supported in cables. Yeah. There needs to be some work if you want to create like a character that cross morphs animations and stuff. That's not 100% there. Anticore did some work on this, but Yeah, we need to put it in, but you can just play skinned animations. I guess I will also show this stuff. So this is a data visualization job with an artist, Refik Anadol. Maybe some of you know him. He's really popular, and it's basically collecting data from the Los Angeles area from the last 48 hours. So what you see, the blue points. Weather data. So if it was really hot, then it's displayed in orange. So this is basically displaying a timeline. So the tectonics. So those little circles. So there was some tectonic activity measured in the last 96 hours, and it will just show you that. So it's basically like a screensaver about this area. But you can then go inside and see some more data. So oops. So you can also use your mouse wheel. And actually, there is some data missing. So it was also displaying the metro lines because they had a nice API, but somehow that's broken. I don't know why. So there's also those keywords from the news and stuff like this. And the blue dots are Twitter data that had geolocation. So we can just visualize those geolocations on the map. And actually the lines are data from OpenStreetMaps, so you can really see those lines. And something is also broken there because there was more information. But yeah, that was really already 2016 or something, or 17. Well, one of our first really big projects. You can open this on mobile, but then you get this abstract view here. And this is also broken because the browser manufacturer changed how you do this, but you could use your sensors to look around this abstract data, which is also something really cool you can do on a mobile device. So that's that. So then we also did some weather visualization with cables, basically where you can see where the wind is going or the water streams are going. That was also something completely different that we did. Then we use it for demo stuff. One thing is for Evoke demo party. So the thing that you see here, so this is the entry that is playing right now on the main screen here. So this stuff is displayed with cables. At Evoke, it's like we have a new logo every year, as you have seen maybe. And there's always a really big animation produced for this, and we play this animation in real time in cables with this beam system, and this runs in a browser obviously, and it just receives all the data from the party master system. It's a pain in the ass to get the data out of there, but yeah, and you can also upload advertising or whatever screens you want to show during the party, so it will show up as random slides there, and all this stuff is displayed with the cables patch. That's that, and then a lot of demos we did with cables. They mainly use like work in shaders and GLSL, and just use the GPU mainly. I don't know, we can look into a demo later, or we can also look at some demos, I don't know. But I would show cables itself, I guess. Okay, so any questions up until now? Okay, I would just continue. So I would just start with the website itself. So this is the CablesGL website when you open it and when you are registered, and it gives you kind of an overview of what was happening. So you see some news here or some YouTube videos. So we try to produce YouTube videos, tutorials and stuff. And there's also some other users doing tutorials like this one here, for example. We just published them here. And then you can see patches that people created on cables, and they just published them, right? So you can look at them. And then there's also latest patches. It's a bit like PUE also. You just have some content. So this is the top patches of the last 6 months. And you can look at this stuff. And the cool thing about this is you can just go there. Let's just open this. You can just go there and play with it. So it's now playing in the browser. It's just executed in the browser. And all the patches that are public, you can look at them, how they are built in the editor. So I can just click open editor, and then it will open Cables itself. And then you can just play around, right? So even if you have no idea what it's doing, you can just click here and, I don't know, change some colors or something. And you don't need to know anything. You can just play with it. And if the patches are public, you can clone them and remix them or do whatever you want with them. And you should ask for the original creator. There's also licensing stuff. But you can just learn from the public stuff. And there are awesome people like the Anticore and Genio, and they publish their whole demo on Cables. So you can just open the demo and see how everything is done and play with it. And I want to do this also, but my demos are so chaotic. And yeah, I need to force myself to do this. This is really cool if people do this because you can just learn from them so much. There are also some demo templates published by me and by other people. So there's a lot of stuff if you want to learn Cables, if you want to learn making demos with it or something. But I think the main thing is just look at the smaller stuff and I don't know, just open it and play with it because often there's just one effect or something. It's not much stuff. You can just change some things and see what happens. I never opened this, so I just changed some values and you get some interesting effects, hopefully, or you just change the colors and stuff like this. So you can always see how other people do stuff, and that's also the main thing to learn. I will sometimes look on my phone because there's my notes, what to explain. Okay, so I just skipped the whole introductions thing. So why did we do Cables? I said already demos, and for demo party beam system, just to have some tool that we can use to doing those things. Then also for client work, and client work you can also just program, right? But often you have to work with artists, like you already asked, like how is it when they want to change the color of those needles or something. We are not doing the cables because the needles because we are the programmers and not the artists, right? So you work together with artists and they give you assets or they give you 3D models and maybe the color is done in a texture or maybe it's in a material in Cables. If it's in a material in Cables, you can just change it or you have to upload a new image there. But that's the thing, like then you have this ticket system and they say, okay, the logo has to be bigger or whatever, and then you make it bigger, and then they say, no, make it more like bigger, and then it's too big, and then like there's always those feedback loops that are so draining and horrible, and you can just do this, okay, let's just do a session together, and then you just scale everything, or you just set up the colors, or the gradients, or stuff like this. You're way faster because it's just such a pain also for everyone, and then I think you skip like 4 times the fine tuning if you do it with those tickets or mails or whatever. You just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Then everybody quits because it's a pain. But this way, you can really tweak it. And if you can also invite people into your patches, and then they can play around with the colors or the scale or whatever. And there are a few ways. Also, we have this sidebar system. I would show this. The working together with other people is so much easier because it's so much faster, right? So it's also we are developing real-time stuff, but also you want to develop in real time. Like you just see what you are doing right now and not have this whole bunch of compiling and reloading and all this kind of stuff. So you can just skip this and then you get really fast, especially with prototyping. So if a client comes to us, or also with demos, it's always the same thing. Like there's some idea, I want to do this, like I want to do this cube thing, or I don't know, this thing here with particles and it should look like a cloud or whatever, and then you just do some prototypes. You just, I don't know, you just start to doing stuff. Maybe I do it with with just sprites, or I do it with with cubes. And so you just prototype, you just experiment what could work. And then with clients, it's they ask us, and then we do like 5 prototypes, and then we show them. Also with interactivity, it's the same thing, right? So how do you use this, like on touchscreen or with the mouse? Like how's the interaction going? And you just want to prototype this. Like you can never think for this one with the particle field. This seems already easy, right? But you can never say, it will be like this. When you click and do this, then this will happen. Like you can do this in your head, but in reality, when you try it, it feels so different, and it's really different. So you always have to experiment and to prototype and try again and try again. And this is way faster with the workflow, with the node-based or visual workflow. So those are the things. So I was really inspired by Tool. So there's now Tool 3, which is also really awesome. And I was inspired by Tool 2. So they showed me, like I was always like a visual programming stuff. I don't get it, but it made click, and I understand. Like okay, it's so fast to do prototypes and to be just quick, right? So that was one of the main things. Okay, so but already 40 minutes. Let's patch a bit. So so Cables is still in beta. So if there are a lot of bugs probably, and we love to get feedback. So if you want to use it, please also join our Discord or go to our GitHub and report bugs and everything. That really helps us. Or even if you think, yeah, this should be known, it's probably not, because then we probably want to fix it. But really, that helps us a lot. So we also have a YouTube channel. You can get all this stuff in this community menu here. Or in the Learn thing, there's also links to YouTube and everything. Okay. So when I opened this patch, let's open another one. Let's open this one. As I said, you can learn from other people and see what they are doing. And you can also get ideas from what they are using. So this is using orbit controls or map range, all those operators. So you can just click them, and you can click view documentation. And then you get most of the time a really short summary of what it does, but you get an example patch. So this example patch is really like the easiest, like this most minimalistic or simplistic way to use this operator. So you can open this, and then you really see, okay, a really simple example on how this thing works. And then you can go everywhere and just copy this and paste this here if you want. And this way you can really combine stuff together and get it together. And yeah, so for beginning, I would say just open some patches. I don't know, just go somewhere and delete stuff and look what happens, and just learn from that. Okay, now I made it black. So I can always reload or just Control Z and try to play with it. So playing with it is the most important thing, and then learn those words, how they work. Okay, so what are we seeing here? This is what we call a patch, and this is the rendering. So this is our output that we see here. And if you click one of those little modules, so they are called operators, you see a parameter panel here. So here are the settings for this operator that I just clicked. And the whole thing works in this way that it is executed from top to bottom. So like a normal code, when you see code, the first line is on the top, and then the next, and then the next, and it's basically what you see here with the yellow cables. You can always press this F key, and then it shows you the flow mode, it's called. And then you see how the data is flowing, or where data is flowing. So in this patch, this stuff is quite, it's not doing anything, right? So there's no activity. But when I use orbit controls, you see the parameters are changing. You see the data is flowing from the orbit controls into those map ranges. And at one point, they will stop again. And so this is basically how you read the patch. So from top to bottom, most of the time. The yellow ones are execution. So this is basically first we transform, then we scale, and then we draw stuff, something like this. The green ones are numbers basically, so data in this case. So let's build a patch from zero. Or any questions or any ideas or anything?
Does it support two monitors, like an editor plus a render preview?
We have basically no, but you can do this with our remote viewer. So you can open. Let's try this. So you can open this in a new window or on a different machine, basically, and you can make changes there. So I can also do this. Wait, I need to clone. Yeah, you can also open it on another browser window, but then you don't see the changes in real time. But if this wasn't my patch, so it doesn't work, but if it's my patch, I can say this remote viewer basically, and I can open this on my phone. Let's hope it works. And then, oh wait, I did the wrong one. Yeah. I did the wrong one. Wait. So you can also edit together in one patch in real time, but I just wanted to do this. I hope I'm logged in. Maybe I would show it here. So I can do this. Why? Did I open this somewhere else? Wait a second. Okay, but in general, yeah, it should work. Yeah, 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 yeah. 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 Yeah, you can. Yeah. 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 So right now, what you see in cables is all code, basically. So they are all coded, and you can basically just open the code. You can clone. What I will show this later, but you can just clone something, and then you can edit it, and you can just edit it in the browser. So yeah, it's vanilla, basically vanilla JavaScript code. Yeah. Yeah, we have different types exactly. I will just show some basic patching, and then we can go into those. Exactly, yeah. So you can reuse them. So you can write your own operators and reuse them. I would show this, but they are all code basically. So you can they are basically open source. You can see them and clone them. Okay, but let's just create something really simple. So maybe just start with the circle. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a main loop. So I guess most of you know already what this is. So this means like there's a loop going on. So it's just continuously rendering a circle. So that's what it's doing. So for smooth animations, you want as many images as possible rendered after another. So the main loop is the one that's like render, 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 and then it shows it on the screen. So this is our screen basically. So now we are not seeing it because it's not animated, but exactly. So there's no value going on right now. Exactly. So this is just the order of things. So if I put a material in front of it, then the material will change the circle because it's happening before. Um, it's basically because WebGL works like this, or like you just want to finish your shader and then you draw a circle. So it's this way. So imagine like you have an empty canvas, then you select a color with your brush, and then you draw a circle. So it's this order, the order of things. It's functional. Huh? Exactly, yeah. So when I put in another basic material, for example, here, then it will draw the green one here, because that's the later one. So I can take this and put this in here, and then it will draw this again. So yeah, so now we yeah, you can have, yeah. So another one, so those are like the three main ops that, or like if you do OpenGL stuff or WebGL stuff, you have shader, like how is it looking? You have transform, so this is like you can position it on the screen. Oh, why am I in Firefox right now? Maybe that was the reason. You can position it with a transform. Okay, I didn't save. And you see this is already in 3D, so I have also can rotate in 3D space already. Yeah. So what I did is like you can press escape and then you have this search engine, and here you can just search for stuff. That's a really good question. I should explain this. So to create an operator, you can click inside here, and then it will. So I select transform again, then it will be inserted here again. They are all that possible. It doesn't have to make sense. It could make no sense. That's really hard to tell if it works or not, basically. So what it does, it's like the ops that can connect get a higher score for the search result. So it's a bit smart. Yeah. Okay, so you can also go, okay, circle, kind of boring. I want some other meshes, right? So which meshes are there? So you can go here and search for mesh, and then you see ops.gl meshes, for example. You can explore it like this. You can just click it and see what other meshes are there. You can also go to the documentation and see and click this this link up here, and then you see also other meshes that are possible, and then you can click them and see an example for a cube or for example, like something like this. And this way you can explore it. And sometimes it's hard because everybody has a different naming convention and stuff. So sometimes you really have to search for it, but yeah, you get used to it. But the main thing is also explore all the patches, all the examples, just try them out or look at them, and then you can find stuff, or just ask on Discord on the GitHub thing. But yeah, so this is it's really a huge list. When you go here, you have the whole list of all operators. It's a ton. So, but there's also stuff like audio stuff or HTML stuff. I don't know, all kinds of things. It's WebGL right now. Yeah, we are working on WebGPU implementation, but that will take some time. But yeah, we are working on this. Yeah, okay. So I don't know if you are not following this. I don't know if I should tell this, but so you can right-click this and drag this around. And so, for example, if you have something like this, you can just drag it, drop it here, and then it will connect to the next possible thing, or it gives you a list of possible stuff. You can drag ops and plug them in here. You can shake them, and then they are released and put them back in. So all those quality of life things, there's this overlay which also tells you a lot of those tricks, how to become fast with this, basically. Yeah, thank you very much. So um, yeah, exactly. Okay, so just some ops that really get you started that I really love to show in the beginning is, for example, random cluster. So this one just it's not really optimized, but it's really like you get something really cool on the screen so fast, and it also shows you this circle is now executed a lot more often than this one here. So the random cluster is only executed like 60 times per second right now, but the circle is a lot more, right? So the random cluster renders the circle 100 times now. So I can say, okay, the area should be smaller, and then I can also make my circle smaller, or change the parameters of the circle. And it's really handy, so you can make a star field with this, or you can just scatter around things. It's really handy because this random kind of stuff, you have it a lot. So this op is really handy for this. There's a more optimized version with instancing that works more on the GPU, but I think for starting, just for playing around, this is really cool op. Yeah, there are no special operators. We are working on that. You can combine ops to. So what you can do is, but this is just for organizing right now. Let me save. So I can select a few ops and say create subpatch, and then it will create this subpatch. So you can double click this, and then you can go in here, and you have this overview here. Yeah. So if you have bigger patches, you really want to do this. I mean, the UI is really, we optimized this. So this is basically, if you are a graphics programmer, this whole thing here is two draw calls. So you can have 10,000 ops on one page because, so this is rendered in WebGL also. The first version was in SVG, but it's just, yeah, it does not scale up. So this is also really 60 FPS, and you can have thousands of operators. Yeah, there's some, yeah, so there's some trickery. I mean, it's not really usable, but you can do basically stuff like this. Okay, not right now, but you could render the patch itself in the patch, and then, yeah, and do some post-processing on it or something. Okay, so the other op that's really handy is the orbit control. So right now we are just looking at this from this perspective. I mean, I can just just rotate stuff and look at it from another perspective, but that's really tedious. So there's orbit controls, and this lets you just interact with the patch. You can just rotate, and you can zoom out or zoom in. You can also pan around, and it's really handy to just look at stuff, basically. So this is also an op that's used a lot. Okay, so next thing will be animations, but before that I want to show, so when you finished your demo or whatever you are doing, you can export this patch. You can click export, and you have some other options up here, but I don't want to go into detail, but you can just export an exe file, and then you can submit it at a demo party. But you can also submit you can export a zip file, and then you get static HTML basically that you can use, that you can upload to your server, that you own the files then. It's not only a cloud-based thing. You have those files then and can put them on your server. This is a compiled version, so it only contains the ops that you are using, so it should be really small, and that you can just open in your browser or upload to a server. It not always works like this because the browser, the security stuff, but you can just upload it to a server and then it works. Yeah. Yeah, so if you compress this, it's way smaller than it's. Yeah, but you cannot do 64K. would be nice. No, that's what I meant. So this is the index HTML I downloaded. So you can just open it in your browser. It's not always possible because of security reasons, but you can always upload it to your own web server and then start it there. So the editor is currently only on KBSGL. Yeah. So there's no offline version right now or anything. But that's also one thing that we want to change. We want to open source it and then have an offline version that you can just execute on your local PC. But this is a lot of work for us, and yeah, but that's the goal basically. But right now it's only on KBSGL, and yeah, you have to trust us a bit. So, but it's there for 8 years, and it will be there. It will just be there, and yeah. Okay, so. So until now we only use the yellow. How am I with time? I'm already 1 hour. Okay. So yeah, now we use the yellow stuff, so only the execution part basically. So we have all those other inputs here. So when we click the op here, you can also see those ports here. So the first 3 are position X, Y, Z. Also if you hover this, you see them. Yeah, this is numbers, float or integer. This one is, they are objects. In this case, they are textures. But that's a bit more complicated. And then there's also strings, for example. But I just want to animate some stuff. So animation is mostly done with numbers, obviously. So let's just they can, but they shouldn't. Yeah, so they are internally they are forced to be always a number, so we don't have to do type checks in all ops basically. So they basically have to behave. So otherwise, it's a lot of testing stuff. But yeah, so the easiest way to animate stuff is, for example, just using a mouse op. So you can just create a mouse op. So this one doesn't have to be triggered because that's about the event system of JavaScript. But yeah, so when I move my mouse over the renderer now, you see here some coordinates. You can switch them, and then you get pixel coordinates, or you get something normalized from -1 to 1, which is more handy with how GL works. So you see I clicked -1 to 1, and I see here the output ports, so we call those things ports, X and Y, and you see the numbers are changing here. So I can just take this and connect this to pos X, and then I can just move it around. And then you see there's data happening there. For sure, yeah. For sure. So with the mouse, it's my hand that's controlling it basically. So there are some more ops I want to show. So for example, timer. This will just move it in one direction because the number is just growing here, right? So now it moved out of the screen. So I can click reset, and then it starts at 0 again, right? But for example, for rotation, it's really handy if it's just a continuous number because I just want to rotate it. So it's really small now because this is in degrees, so I can change the speed, so it's really fast. And then if you just want to try a different port, you can just connect it to another port, or just copy this and connect it to multiple ports, and then they will rotate around those ports. And so with the position X, it just went out of the screen because the value is so big, right? So we have a lot of math ops that can help you work with those numbers. So for example, there's a modulo. So modulo means if a value is reached, it will restart at 0. That's a stupid explanation, but that's basically what it does. So it just moves to 2. You can see if you hover, you see this little graph there. So it goes to 2, and then it starts at 0 again. So you can also switch this to ping pong, and then it will go up and down and up and down again. So modulo is also really handy for if you have if you want to scroll something. So if I make this, I could make this really big and then let them start at the beginning again, with some control. Then there's for sure, like, you can also use a sine op, right? So there's a sine op I can plug in here, and there you can change the frequency, how fast it is, or the amplitude, like how far it goes out of the screen. Math operator. I will do this. I will do this later. Yeah. The fastest way is you click here and you say clone op code, and then you get your own name, and then you get ops user, your username, and then you have some your own op, and then you can change it. Basically, that's all. What do you mean? Yeah, you can write that. Yeah. So there's so one thing is you can type some math in here, and then you just calculate stuff. But this, yeah, I don't know. I never use this, but it's nice. But there's also math expression, for example. So you can enter a little formula. There's also a better one. But you can also do just type multiply or sum, and then you can just work with this and I don't know, add the mouse coordinates to the timer or something like this. You can just calculate with this, and yeah, I also prefer the coding way, just have like one formula and not a whole bunch of things, but sometimes you really want this. It's also handy for if you really, so there's ops like this, map range. So you can say in the mouse I selected from -1 to 1, right? So I want to map -1 to 1 to, I don't know, 70 to 130. So now I map this to those degrees. So you can just remap those numbers, which is really handy. Yeah, you have a bunch of those things. Also, you can create. So let's create this modulo again, and position 1, and then there's an op like ease. So right now it's really linear, right? So bang, bang. There's no curve in the animation. So this one gives you a bunch of curves. So if you select this, then it's more bouncy, and you can select in both directions, and so on. Yeah, you can. Yeah, so you can with the timeline. There's an op. So you can draw a curve in your timeline and then use it. But there's no Bezier right now. The timeline lacks some things. But yeah. Okay. Just JavaScript code, basically. So you can use the JavaScript math functions for this, and yeah. No. We do all with ops basically, but if you want to calculate something, then you can use that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the green circles are really boring. So let's try something with materials, because we have a lot of materials. So right now we are using the basic material. So this means there's basically just one color, and we can add textures to this. So I can just select an image. You can just drag an image in here, and then you can use it. So now we have this beach on the circle, and this is really versatile. So you can also use video texture, and then you can use this video, for example, and then you are playing. You have to click play, and then you have a video playing on the circle. So this is one texture only right now. And so there are more materials like a Phong material. I will just show the examples, which are really like you have a lot of options how to shade your objects. And you can scroll on this page. You can always scroll down, and then you see a lot of examples, or all public patches, or all of your own patches, and you can just go in them and see how people do this. So this one is really good for, like, you can add lights. You can also have shadows and stuff. Then we have a new material that's called PBR material. So this is for this is basically the technology that's nowadays used in games. Which it's called physical-based rendering, and it helps you to create better reflections and roughness. You can define the roughness of the materials, and it's really really great for 3D artists. They just know the standard, and then it looks basically the same in all engines. A lot. So yeah, you can plug in textures that drive them. You have an environment light. You can plug in a cube map or an HDRI map. Yeah. Okay. So we have this. There's a camera that's we tried, or which is kind of cool, but that's not a great quality. So it's really complicated to create those HDRI maps. So, but this awesome website has them for free. You can browse them here, and then you get them. But to create it, so those are not just photos. They have a high dynamic range, and this is why they're called HDRIs. They are really hard to create. You can create them in a 3D program, but it's not so easy to have really great ones. So I would recommend to go there and try them, and then add dynamic lights on top, basically. So then you can mix it, but it's really its own science how to create those textures. So this PBR material, for example, is something a user contributed to Cable. So he built this thing, and then we helped him and finished it up, and now it's in the Cable's core. But this is an external. It's just a user that loves Cables, and he wanted to contribute. So this is also possible, and I have to get this guy to the demo scene because he's really good at what he does. But yeah, so now we have this PBR light that came from that user, which is really cool. That you can. He just wrote those ops. Basically, I mean, we did a lot of support, and we do this. If you're interested and you're doing something, we will help you to develop it further. But you don't have to do this. This is also the great thing. You don't have to do everything by yourself. You can only do the op that you want, right? Some people do strange stuff, like they do, I don't know, like a Python interpreter. They upload this library into Cables, and then you can program Python in it. I don't know. They just do this kind of stuff, but you can do it. So you could also, I don't know, you can write your software engine in Cables or whatever you prefer, right? It's not bound to WebGL or anything. Can be everything, but WebGL is just the main thing that we do. But it's more or less, it's also basically just an IDE, and you decide what you do with it. Okay, so. Basically, yeah. So what you can, there's also a custom shader op. So this one you can just write, like in Shader Toy, you can just write your own shader and use it as the material, basically, or as an effect. Yeah. Okay, let me just quickly show something else, like post-processing stuff. You can basically rent. So what we are doing now, we have this texture, and we're displaying it on the circles, right? So we can dynamically create textures. So there's an operator that's called render to texture. So when we do this, we don't see anything anymore, but we can click this op, and this little icon here, and usually it's open. Then you see what's happening here. So this is rendering into a texture. So when I click on the video texture, you see this is the video itself, and when I click here, we rendered it, the whole scene, like our scene, it's still working like this, into a texture. And now we can do interesting stuff with this. Let me clean up a bit, just to make it more clean. We can, so first of all, we just want to see it back on our screen, right? So we have to display it. So there's a handy op for this, which is called full screen rectangle, and we can connect this texture, and then we see it in full screen again. So, I mean, we could also do something like this, create a cube and a basic material, and then use this texture on this cube, right? And then you see we are rotating both scenes. So you can also do this. So this is just a texture. You can do all the texture stuff with it, basically. You can also do feedback easily with this, yeah. So so this is how when I connect it to the full screen rectangle. So, but we want to do something with this texture like post-processing. So we can, so I created the sequence here. This means first of all, I execute this. Then I execute this. So this is the last thing that happens. So in the beginning, I want to render this into a texture, and in the end, I want to draw it on the screen, right? So in between, I want to change this texture. So we have an op that's called image compose. And this one, you can plug this texture in, and it gives you a texture out, and that I can connect to the full screen rectangle. So it still looks the same as before, but the image compose, its job is to compose an image, actually. And so what it does now, it just draws this image, but there is a library in Cables that's called texture effects. It's a ton of ops where you can do 2D stuff. So for example, I can do, I don't know, posterize it, so I can reduce the number of colors, or I can blur it, and then I have a blurred version of this. And yeah, so those are 2D effects, but I can still just animate them as I did before. I could put a sign on this or something like this. I could put, I don't know, edge detection. You can really have, so you can also stack them. I just deleted them all the time, but I can now put barrel distortion on top, and then, yeah, so you can feed them by themselves, or kaleidoscope effects, all this kind of stuff that's there. And you can also just clone them. If you look in the code tab, you can see the fragment code of this. You can just clone them and then reuse them. And this is also really easy, really handy. You can just reorder those post effects and get completely different stuff. So. Yeah, for sure, yeah. So you can also do, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense with this one, but I can make another image compose, and I don't know, use that image that we just created as a displacement for the original image. And then we are using that dynamic image as a displacement map for the other image. Yeah, so you can do a lot of stuff. So for post-processing, it's really cool. So if you have a demo and you want to more control about the colors, or I don't know, you want some chromatic aberration, for example, is one effect. That's so you have those little borders there, and stuff like this. So there's a huge library of effects. Okay. So how hard is this deadline in the end? Genio, the 8 o'clock deadline. Are we kicked out or? So we have 15 minutes. Yeah. Should we or like what? Yeah. Okay. If it's yeah, okay. So I will. Yeah, no, I mean like just 15 minutes or something like this maybe. Yeah. I'm fine with that. I can just continue. It's just fine. Okay, so yeah, yeah, I just continue. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so another option to animate stuff is with FFT, so by sound. So so there are a few ops. So the audio analyzer, for example. Yeah, I will show that. So the audio analyzer shows you, for example, here you have like an average volume that you can use of the current sound playing, or you have this thing, it's called FFT area average. So you can move this, you can move an area somewhere, and you see this yellow line here, this is basically what happens in this area. So you,
Awesome, man. I love this.
and then you can sync your stuff. The, I mean, for me, this looks fine, but it's tedious to set up because like the audio is already mixed, right? So we, for our demos, we use this for stroboscope effect mostly, but we use MIDI files. So like if you make a song, and you can also use MIDI controllers with cables, but that's a different story. So, but you can use a MIDI JSON op. So what we do for our demos is we create a MIDI track of the soundtrack, and then we just import this, and then we can say, okay, there's the bass line, there's the hi-hat, and then we have a trigger exactly when this happens, because the FFT is always a bit delayed, and that's sad, and you also cannot get everything, but the musician can just give you one track where there's some information, like use this to synchronize, or use this for something, and then you can read those values, and also you can name them, and then you get the name out of the JSON. You just upload a .mit file, and it will be converted, and then you can use it like this. So you can look at the example and clone it and use it yourself. So this is what we use a lot for demos, because it gives you like the exact thing, and also not like the rough thing. But yeah, so this is also really handy for animating stuff. They know more about it than me, so it's fine. Yeah, yeah, basically. So because it's easier to read. Yeah. Yeah, if you can convert, I think you can convert them to MIDI. It's no, it's from. We just use the converter from them. It's Tone.js MIDI. They created this. You can also use this and upload it here and then use it. It's a public thing. Reverb just wrote. So this is also somebody asked about if you can load the JSON file, right? So this is exactly. No, this is its own op. But yeah, you could also pass it with other ops. But yeah, so this just some inspirational things that I wanted to show. Okay, coding ops you asked about. So this is really easy, and this is also how we develop this. So 50%, or like I think like with projects, I work like 90% of the time in Cables directly. I just create ops in my user space. So when I search for Pando, I see a lot of my test ops, or like ops that are built for something specific. And when they are good enough, we move them to the Cables core. But everybody can just click here and say code a new op. And then you say, I don't know, inertia test op. And then you click create. And then it opens the code editor here. So right now it's not possible to use your own editor, which is a bit sad, but that's also for this offline version. There are some templates, you just search for template, and then there's like array example and those kind of things. So inertia. Okay, I created already inertia op, I guess a few years back when we had the online thing. So I create this up. This is how it looks in the start, and we can just press E on it, and then it will open the source, and you can code stuff. So there's in the Cables docs there's some examples how to start with it. You can also just clone ops that do something that you want and then work from there. But many of them are really complex. But I will just create something like in A. So what you can do is I'm a bit fat fingering here. So or in float, for example, something, and when I now press save, then it will create the port here. Then it's there already. So I can also say out result or whatever, or out number result, and then it will create this output port. And then I can say in A, if this changes, on change, have a function and that says in A. So this is how I get the number from the input. I don't know, multiply by 1,000. So, and this is my result. So I can say out result, set this value. And then I press save, and then it's here. So now we have results. So if I change this number, you see it's multiplied by 1,000. And this is all there is. So this is all how all cables ops are built, basically. I mean, there is some GL, cables GL library in there that's a bit harder to use, or like you need some knowledge. But if you just want to create something for some math or create a geometry or I don't know, stuff like this, you can just do this. So for example, Uncle X, when we do those MFX demos, he does the timing, and he doesn't like the timeline, which I will show after this, but he doesn't like it. Like, he doesn't like keyframes. It's just not its thing. So he codes the synchronizing. I mean, we have this MIDI file in the FFT and stuff, but he likes to code this, and he has his own op that calculates the beats out of the current time. So the current time's in seconds. But if you know the BPM of your sound, you can just calculate easily the beats you are at. And he likes to work with those numbers and not with seconds. So I am stupid with animations. I like to work with seconds. But I work in Holland. We have Chana, for example. She is a motion designer, and she likes to work with frames. So everybody is different. And this is sometimes you want frames, sometimes you want seconds. And everybody is a bit different with this. So, yeah. But, so the coding part, any questions about this? Yeah, so so down here you can write a comment. That's happening here. Then we have some nice ops for the UI. So we have this comment op. You can say here is where it happens. Blah blah blah. But you can also go. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, right. That I should show. You can if you go to your own op, you can also edit the summary. Then this is what will show up in the search engine. And for each port, you can. No, so this is the type. So because this is a number, yeah. But they can also be different. So I can also say in float slider, for example, this gives you one that has this slider, for example. And there are different types. also for strings and arrays and stuff like this, they are different. You can change the color for one op. So if you want, for this one, wait, that's what PS just said. We have this area op. Yeah, Blueprint is a feature we are working on, which will be something different. So, but yeah, you can create this area and then also have a title, and then you can, I showed it really wrong. So you can go here and say select multiple ops and say create area, and then you can move this area around also. And then you can also say something something. Yeah, for that we have sub-patches. Yeah, we thought about combining this, but yeah, but sub-patches will be really simpler soon-ish. Right now they're kind of hard to like define the ports that go in, and you cannot delete them. But they will be more comfortable in the end, and then maybe they're more like arrays. Yeah, we had those ideas that maybe you can just minimize it, then it's really small, and double-click it, and then they expand again or something. But yeah, then you have this layering and everything. Another possibility could be like you just scale this really down, so you have to zoom in to see it, right? So because that functionality we already have, but we are not sure what's the best way. So yeah, not sure how this will be in the future. Yeah, so also for programming ops, we are working on a way that everybody can, in the end, publish their ops, and other people can subscribe to them and use them in a way. And so right now, everything has to be like a official cables op, or like your user op, but you cannot work together on ops. But this is a thing that we're working on right now. And then the timeline I wanted to show exactly. Any other questions about coding? Yeah. There is different ways, like sometimes it can be rescued and you can continue to work, or you have to reload maybe. Most of the time you can still save the patch. Let's just yeah, you can just use the dev tools. So for example, this one has a crash button, throw exception. So this is how it looks then. You can also send an error report to us. You can reload the patch. So sometimes it's a bit weird with JavaScript. You cannot reload a class or an object that crashed once. You cannot just reload it. So what happens is when you save your op, it will be sent to the server, and then there will be some checks on it and like compiles it to a module that it understands. Then it sends it back to the client, so the client re-executes it basically. And this, sometimes it's weird with JavaScript. It's also in some browsers it's a bit different. But yeah, often you have to reload if it crashes. But you can still save the patch after it crashed. So what I'm doing now. So it still worked even though there was an exception. But that exception is not executed code right now. But yeah, it's like the usual thing basically. Exactly. So okay, that was the coding part. Okay, let's try the timeline. So the timeline is really, it could really be better. I'm honest, but you can. So let's just open a big project. Let's just open a demo from the Inertia Fast Challenge that I submitted. So that was my demo from that compo. So I can let me just show you the patch. So this is it's not a big patch, but a bigger one. Let's wait until it's finished loading. And I will publish this, but there are some custom ops in there I have to somehow publish, or yeah, I will publish this, but it's also created in 24 hours, so it's not that beautiful to look at. But yeah, so what you see first is like there's not much going on here because everything is packed into subpatches because I can also show you other demos where there are no subpatches used and they have hundreds of ops, but you really don't really don't want this. So this is my preferred way of doing this. If you look at the Anticore Gaia space demos, they are really organized in a completely different way. It's really funny how people everybody is using it completely different. But this is my way. So I have one subpatch that does this MIDI synchronization that I talked about. So I see here, I think the MIDI only starts later in the demo. There's no MIDI data for this part, but this, let's see. I made my own UI where I see the MIDI stuff there. It's really sparse in some parts. So I can right click and then I have my UI that I can scrub my demo or see this kind of stuff. Huh? Yeah, that's the demo, yeah. So that was the first challenge. I don't know if you know about this. We had this idea. So we give you the music and 3 words, and then you have to create a demo from this in 24 hours. So this is, yeah, this is with the Ajax request loads the MIDI file, and you saw those numbers up there. This one here, those are the MIDI notes playing. I used them, but I also used the timeline. I combined everything, but. So first of all, so that was the MIDI. So then I have a subpatch that shows the loading bar in the beginning. Then I have a subpatch that creates the post-processing. It's not a lot. It's a bit, there are some displacement, but it's not really much going on here. Then I have player control, which is basically this thing. So I can scrub around without opening the timeline, which is handy sometimes. No, sadly not. Then there's this music subpatch, which has this thing again and some other values. And also that I didn't show, so I use this subpatch and I write this FFT data into a variable. So you can create a variable that you can read at any point in the whole patch. So I just have this subpatch that does this thing, and at some other point I just use it for material or something. So it doesn't have, not everything has to be connected. This is basically then wireless. You can plug this into anything that gives you a number, and then you can visualize it basically. There's also a graph visualizer or texture. You can just display them there. No, it's public. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So what else? So then we have the scenes. So the most demos contain like multiple scenes that I are showing, and I organize them into subpatches. And when I go into the scenes subpatch, this is where they are triggered. So this up here time sequence, this is for the timeline. So when I click this value, you see the timeline opens. And here I have, I think. So here you see, basically when I move here, you see the scene changes. Let me remove the UI. So this is the first scene, this is the second, this is the third. And what you see here is what gets triggered, right? So when I scrub through the demo, you see this is just wandering around. So you see, okay, currently, so 1 week later, you don't know anymore which one was which. So you can see this is going in here. I mean, this is a bit weird because it's really a bit messy in here. So this is the main effect of the demo. But because it was done in such short time, it's really structured really weird. But most demos have this timed sequence where they control what is played at which point, basically. Okay. You can do this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The timeline is really not so easy to use also. So I also do a lot of map ranges. So the map range I showed before, you give a number in and another number out. Like you give like a minimum, maximum number in and convert it to a different range, right? So I always use the time. So yeah, so in this example, from second 10.6 to second 13.8, the value changes from 0 to 8, which is really handy to do. And then, like, you can keyframe with this. Like, this is more like a programmer's way of keyframing. I mean, it's not really handy because there are a shit ton of map ranges, and if I just want to move the whole part later, then I am in trouble, right? So with keyframes, you could just select them and move them, but I don't know, you're lazy and stupid, and then you just do those huge things. But for a 24-hour demo, it's totally fine to do this. But if you want to rearrange something, then you're in trouble. But you're also in trouble with the timeline because you cannot select multiple timelines and move stuff around. So there's always a downside. But yeah, I really would love to work on the timeline and make it better. Or maybe so Anticore, he's using a timeline from another demo scener who published a curve editor timeline thing from Observer. I forgot the it's called Automaton or something like this. And he let's look at this demo. So I can search for Anticore here, and then users, and there he is, and he patched a lot of patches. So there's this awesome demo from Inertia. Let's just open it. And this looks completely different from how I work, basically. It's so funny. It's also huge, so it will take some time, I guess. And yeah, so he's using this other JavaScript library and wrote his custom ops to work with it. So I don't know, he hates the timeline more than me, I guess. So he wanted to do it this way. Okay, let's see. I think it opens automatically. Yeah, there it is. So this is this automaton thing. So when you write your op, you can also create an HTML area in those in this tab thing. So and then it opens. So he created an op that opens a tab, and this is this other program that creates. You can use. He is using for syncing, and I have no idea how it works actually. But yeah, you can scrub here and use it, and it's completely independent from the cables timeline, which is really really cool. And I don't know, huh? Really? Yeah, really cool work from him. And yeah, I think this thing was made for 64K, so it's not so easy to use. So basically, you define a curve, and then you can reuse it at different points, which makes it really space. Yeah. You can import a library. Yeah. Yeah. You can upload it and then use it with the custom op. This is also something we are working on. Then you can just upload the file and create an op that references this file. But yeah, so he doesn't have any subpatches, I guess, does he? No, he doesn't. So he organized everything in those areas here. So this is the greeting part. This fills, I don't know, the rocket, and this is just crazy to me, but yeah, for him it works. So it's interesting. It's a bit slow because those visualizing ops, but if they are out of the screen, so I guess he's always zoomed in and
It crashes a lot.
yeah, we optimized it a bit after the release, so it got a bit faster also. I think it crashed because of memory errors, because there was a lot of stuff reused a lot of times. So Cables doesn't manage this for you. You have to, if you want to use a texture 100 times, you really need to use the variable. So you write the texture into a variable and then you use it at the other times. But yeah. So
I've done that. Those are
Yeah. Um, yeah, so they obviously worked together on the patch and had some, I don't know, like agreement on how to organize it. Yeah. How did you? So for me, I mean, this looks kind of looks tidy, but how do you go somewhere? Like, do you search for it and then go there, or uh, uh, you're on the call and then it's on the left up? Yeah, yeah, basically, yeah, yeah, for sure, yeah. But also, what? So the main thing for me why I not agree with this is he's using trigger. So you see this one is not connected at all, but it does OpenGL rendering. So somewhere this trigger is sent, but it's not obvious to me where it is. So for me it's yeah. So for me it's hard to know where. Okay, so I mean in the top it starts, and then there's this time sequence, and then he has those triggers, and then you go to that trigger, and yeah. So when I just so this is also something we really want to optimize. So it would be cool that you can now see a list where this is triggered or something. But you can always press search and then you have the send and the receive, and then you can go there. But actually, when I see this, I think there should be like a button like show all the others or something like this. Yeah. But yeah, everybody works different. So there's also a new feature that you can just press Command P. There's this command palette that you know from editors now, and it also okay, it doesn't work with comments. That's interesting. But yeah, you can organize it a different way. You can also go here and say bookmark this stuff, um, and I don't know this one. And then when you click into the empty area, you see a list of bookmarks here, and then you could also go there to those bookmarks. But yeah, everybody prefers a different workflow. But yeah, so really great work, and yeah, they did it all alone basically. We didn't really help them. Like it's really Anticore's really pro cables user, I would say. Really awesome stuff. Um, yeah, so this is some more uh, bigger patches. So what we are also working on is so that you can say this stuff is included from another patch. Um, so you have multiple patches and you can combine them to one big patch in the end. So this is also something that we already use, but we want to publish it for all users. You can code array magic shaders, yeah. So there's, for example, Virgil. He yeah. So that no, you cannot. But I'm working on this. So this is something I'm working on. So you really can compile a shader with nodes. I can also show you if you want. Uh, yeah, it's I want this so hard. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we are working on this, and it will take some time. I also want this to be the first feature that also works with web GPU, so you can um, just basically switch between the graphics environment, so you can switch between GLSL or WebGL and web GPU in the end. So let's see. Not done this, but you could do this. Like, that's Yeah, yeah, I know this kind of stuff. Yeah, sure, that's not a limit. Like, if you can do, basically, you can do anything that you can do in the browser, right? So you can just use any libraries or whatever you want. So, for example, completely different stuff. Something like this would be possible if it's possible on the web. Then you can do this. But yeah, we have um, lot of libraries that you can just use. Can you turn the light on, maybe again? So, for example, this one, this tracks like your fingers. You see, you can see this, yeah. And you can use this and like grab the values from this and use it. So this is a library from Google that I spent a lot of time working making. Um, so this one you can track your head. Yeah, we also WebVR is also supported. So the October 22 release. So you can run stuff. This runs on a Quest 2, for example, and it's all patched. And you can basically you have like the main loop. You have another op that's rendering it in VR, basically. Yeah, this is a patch that runs on Quest. Yeah, so this one it's public example patches. There's also a video about it, how to use it. So yeah, we have this blog where we put all the stuff that we are working on, and so this one was about the VR stuff mainly because we had to. So basically, a huge company paid for this VR support. So now there's this op for everyone to use, which is really cool because it took a long time to create, and in the end, the project was never finished because they're assholes or something. But yeah, so at least we got something good out of it, and everybody can just use this stuff. So the blog with every release, you can see what we added to cables and what changed. And so this is, for example, when we created the bone stuff, and yeah, all this stuff is in patches that you can just open and see. Um, I guess not because it's so abstract. I mean, huh? um, basically, we try to do it like this. We tell them, they say we want to do this, and then we're like, we have all this stuff, but this stuff we have to develop for cables, and then we can do it, and then they're fine with it. Like it's most of the time the companies don't want the code in the end or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, first of all, don't sign anything that does it. Like most of the agencies, we don't even have to sign something. We tell them we write them a document like this is our offer, and then we say we develop a feature for cables that makes it possible, and then we can do this for this website, so that it's basically two different things that can do that. And then they're like, yeah, whatever, technical stuff. But yeah, there are clients that there are also clients that don't want you to use cables because this online thing, and there's no guarantee if the plane crashes from my flight back from here, then what's happening, right? So there's no guarantee because we're really small and not Google or whatever. What? Yeah, so Lottie Player. So this is also what we used so you can have vector animations and play them in the browser. So this is how the buttons were built for that other project. Yeah, people can, so animators or motion designers can do this in After Effects, and then you can import them. You can replay them as a texture or as an HTML element. Yeah. From Airbnb, I think even. Yeah. It's crazy. It's really good. Yeah, for agencies, they can just yeah. 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 Yeah, it's really handy for small stuff also. Like, yeah. I think this loading bar even was done with it, but maybe I'm wrong. But those little button animations and stuff like this, they can just do them themselves, and then we can use them. It's really handy. And yeah, so this is an example. This is an HTML element here. So um, you can transform the HTML element basically in GL space, and then it's drawn 2D and on that corner, which is really handy. And you have this div element here, and you can just use CSS to style it. Yeah, everything. It's just HTML basically, and the HTML workflow. You shouldn't build websites with it, but for some buttons or some small menus or something, it's fine to use this. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So this is you can inspect it here, and there's a div element there. And in Cabs, you can press Control and hover them, and then you click them, and then it will uh, focus the op. Actually, maybe not anymore. Ah, yeah, there. Uh, so then it focused the op, which element is super handy. But yeah, we like you shouldn't do complete websites with this, but you can do small things with it. That's fine. But we shouldn't end where Flash was 10 years ago or 15 years ago or something. So, but yeah, for menus and buttons and stuff like this, it's fine. Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, exactly. No, not really available to public. Maybe we want to do this for this year, but we are really open about it. But it's not really set in stone. It's also like what kind of projects are coming. But I think like so. If you want to ask us questions or something like this, or want to know about this, you can always join our meetup, which is every Wednesday on Discord, and just talking about stuff, and everybody can ask questions, and we patch the answers basically, and you can just ask stuff there, and there you can also learn how, like, what's in development and stuff. But we don't want to guarantee it because we don't know what will happen this year or next year or something. But the biggest stuff for us is open sourcing, because I think it could really lead to huge growth for cables. I think a lot of people would not use it if it's not open source, and I think I hope it will explode. Like everybody will love it. I mean, you see all the code from the ops. Yeah, exactly, the ops, but the UI and the core is not open source. We just don't want to press publish, and then everybody spawns its own Cables WebGL sites. So the idea is that the open source thing is like an offline version. You could also put it on a web server, but that you have this offline version, and you can just do whatever you want with it, and the web version runs on its own. But it's basically the same thing. But we don't want to we just want this central thing where this is the online version, and then you can also have the offline version, and everybody can code and experiment with the offline version and then commit to the thing. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't know about the offline version, but yeah, Play Canvas is kind of also like Cables, but not Node. Yeah, yeah. They have their own renderer, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we are. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
open
open
source,
source.
then web GPU is something we want to do because there's so much more possible than with particle systems and like the modern stuff. I mean, we are still stuck with OpenGL 3 like 15, 20 years ago. Well, not 20, but like WebGL is still like it's really old basically. So web GPU will be the future. Huh? Because so they said, okay, like let's do OpenGL in the browser, but you cannot just expose everything in the browser. So they said, like we use the mobile specification, so OpenGL ES. So WebGL is basically OpenGL ES, so the mobile OpenGL stuff. But I don't know why, but they just the consortium, like the Kronos guys that manage all this, they just stopped defining standards and they moved to Vulkan. And but that's way too crazy for the browser probably. So there's no new OpenGL version that could be used. So that's why they sat together like Chrome and Apple, Google and Apple and Firefox, and they agreed on this web GPU thing. And this is more modern, like modern DirectX. It's also a bit more. It's really different, and so yeah, it will take time to do this, but I hope that we can do it in a way that you can use the same ops, like the simple example stuff I showed, that it's just switchable between the GPU APIs, and you don't have to write every op, make a new version of every op. Because in the back, like Habits is already abstracted that it can be done like this. So we have a kind of working version already for web GPU, but so all those texture effects to port would be a huge work. Like this would be a lot of work. So we want to start with the other third big feature, which is the shader graph. So you can combine shaders in nodes, and then it will compile a source code, shader source code basically. And this should be also work for GLSL and WebGPU at the same time. And then you can do all those texture processing ops that we have. We could just patch them, and that would be my favorite way because it would also be internally way faster than it is now. Because right now it's always flipping textures all the time. So then it would just be in one shader and just run super fast. And so those are the three big topics this year. There's also a lot of stuff about managing. So we have this team stuff, so you can create a team and go in there and manage your projects and stuff, and there will be you can publish ops to a team, and then you invite people to work on those ops and all this backend stuff. So this is also a huge thing that we already started and that we want to finish this year. Yeah, so yeah, there's a billion ideas basically. We also think about maybe we switch or maybe we enable other 3D engines so that you could use 3JS or Babylon.js or something that also could open it for more programmers, because the K-bits engine is really kind of low, so it's really not abstract, or like it's kind of abstracted, but it's really, it's a new engine that you have to learn, right? So it's not easy for people, and it's also not so well documented. So we are thinking about maybe we open it up for other engines too. Yeah, for example, because there's a billion examples, and everybody could start writing ops for this. But this, we cannot do this with two people. So yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So we do this full time for 8 years already. So this is why. Yeah. Yeah. We do, yeah, we do. We have, so for the backend we have like automated tests, and for the front end we have this thing.
I'm guessing a lot of it comes.
Wait
Wait
until
until
you
you
use
use
it.
it.
No,
No.
yeah.
Wait until it blows on your face and you lose your product. No, but the thing is, I'm guessing a lot of these knowledge comes from experience, of course, but
I was wondering how much of it comes from watching the users using it and realizing that it can be done faster. So
Yeah.
the menu showing up or just dragging on top on those like scrubbing, and then releasing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, before COVID, we also were at many universities and taught this there to really young students, and then we could have a look like how do they approach stuff because they don't know what a graphics card is or whatever. Like why would they know this, right? So it's really interesting to watch them, and yeah, we learn a lot from this. But yeah, I wish we could do this more often, but it's also really time consuming to do it. So mostly it's from our experience, or we try to listen to users, or yeah, I mean, there's also like this guy from Inertia demo part for the fast challenge was so funny. He said like, okay, I will just learn cables, and then he started Twitch, and then he started making the demo, and then he streamed for 24 hours. I only watched the beginning, but then I was like, oh yeah, why is this? And yeah, it's really good to watch people do this kind of stuff. I wish we had like an automated way to do this, but yeah. But we also try to keep the UI really minimalistic, and it's really hard to. I mean, if you see it for the first time, you don't know what's possible, right? Because we don't have a toolbar with a billion icons or something. We also want to hide it away so that's not too crowded. But yeah, it's really hard to. Why doesn't he know the timeline, right? I mean, yes. You could say like you could go here and then there's those views and there's timeline, right? But it's no, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's. You can spend some like everyone approaches it a different way. Some just open it and then they try stuff out until it works. Some just watch YouTube videos for 3 days and then they start the program for the first time. It's so strange how everybody's using it, like approaching it differently. But yeah. 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 Yeah, yeah, that's also how I would say to start it. But yeah, so if you search for demo template, there is there's another demo that's published. What? I, yeah. I think this is a big Rhine. This is the Rhine River. Yeah. Really, then there's already like 3 Farian demos in cables. So here's this demo template. So this patch, if you want to make a demo, search for demo template. You can also come to the meetup and ask for it or something. There's also a video also with PS. I made a video about it. I mean this is a few years back. Yeah. You can open this and it has already a time sequence set up, so you can go here and time this and just clone this patch. You can go here and say clone patch. Yeah, this is also a problem. Like, how do you show this to people? I mean, like, demo sceners are not like the biggest group of people in cables, so everybody wants to do different stuff. It's so hard to make stuff visible, or I don't know. It's just crazy. So. We have some, yeah. So a lot of people have experience with Touch Designer or VVV. So, yeah, that one, or like people come from processing. It's really different. Some are just programmers that don't want to set up all the boilerplate all the time, but just use this and then program their own stuff. Some users are like creative technologists is probably the best term. They are not programmers at all, but they are like visual artists, but they know technical stuff, so they can work with this. And they think they don't program, but in reality they are programming, but they just don't know this. or they are just bad with syntax checking and hate this stuff, so they do it like this. So yeah, it's really interesting. Like some people, like their brains just work so well with cables. They're like, what? It's really interesting because like I would program this and then they come up with different solutions. It's yeah, there are so many different people and also. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's it. If there are no other questions, thank you. Thanks. Great.
So that was it for momentum number 8. Thank you. Thank you to